Hello everybody, it's Mike Paterson from White Turtle Adventures and Paterson Photography. Welcome back to the van. So I wanted to go through a little bit about what was up with this weekend and what happened and everything. As we all know, we're in the midst of COVID-19, and earlier this week my son actually said he had a cough and he needed to go get tested for COVID-19. So while we're waiting for his test results, I always hit the road on Thanksgiving weekend because it's usually the last weekend of the year that you can get out to a lot of the places. So I figured while we were waiting for test results that I would head out and do what I normally do. Now, a little bit different this year. Usually I go to one spot. Usually I pick some place like Kananaskis or Banff or Yoho or somewhere like that. But because we got to wait for the results, it gives me a few extra days to hit the road. So that's what I've done. So I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to do something a little fun for myself. So what I did was this. On Thursday morning, I was getting ready to go to work, and I knew I was going to be taking the van with me. So I decided to act as if I was having to get out of a place in a hurry. We've had so many wildfires in California, and we've had forest fires up this way. In fact, there was one just south of where I am right now that's burning out of control, or at least it was when I came up here. I haven't heard since. And I thought, what would it be like if I had to leave with only a few minutes' notice? So what I did was I decided to give myself a challenge, and the challenge was this. I had 5 minutes to grab the stuff that I would need to get out of the house. Now, one difference on that is that the camera equipment that I'm carrying, I don't consider it a necessity, but I put it in the van ahead of time because obviously I would be standing here talking to the squirrel in a tree if I didn't have my camera equipment. So I put that in. So that was one thing that I did a little bit differently. The other thing that I did was I actually, when I went to work, instead of taking peanut butter from home because I like my peanut butter, I actually took some from my studio, but the difference in time from that was nothing. I could have grabbed the stuff at home. It just would have meant they wouldn't have had anything at home. So I gave myself 5 minutes and I grabbed the necessary food that I needed to head out. Now, I always keep my van packed. It always has at least a half dozen to a dozen of my freeze-dried meals. It has my stove. It has other things in it. So there's not a lot of stuff that I really have to get to put into the van. So what did I grab? Well, I grabbed some honey because I don't keep the honey in the van and I felt like some honey. I grabbed a block of cheese. I grabbed a can or a jar of jam. And I grabbed some orange juice. Now, the orange juice is kind of funny because I didn't think I had any orange juice in the van, and I love my orange juice in the morning. So I grabbed a container and filled it up full of orange juice and came out to the van. And because I made that decision, I decided that was it. I had what I had. Well, the stuff that I didn't have that I should have taken with me was some milk for my cereal. So I ended up with a couple containers of soy milk in my van, enough for probably 4 days because I only use half a container per day, so I'm actually not too bad on that. But I ended up with, shall we say, a lot of orange juice. So for the last 2 days I've been basically drinking a ton of orange juice to try to just get it worn down and used up out of my fridge. I do have some Tetra packs of orange juice with me, so I'm good with that for quite a while. Now, what did I forget? Well, one thing, and I tend to forget this all the time, was I forgot to bring some bread with me. And I forget that because in our house, we don't have bread sitting on the counter like in many places. We keep our bread in the freezer, and then when you want some, you take it out and you toast it or you let it thaw. And we do that because my wife eats one type of bread, I eat another type of bread, and my son can only have bread without gluten in it. So there's not bread sitting on the counter, and I totally forgot that. The other thing that I found that I was low on, which isn't a huge issue, was I only had a bag of chips with me. So I actually, when I stopped for gas, I did cheat a little bit on my second or third gas up. And I actually went in the store, because I usually don't go into the stores with COVID out and about. And I bought myself a bag of chips, a big bag, and I bought myself some buns from a bakery that I really like. I didn't know they sold them at this gas station, but they did. So I ended up splurging and buying that. Other than that, that's all that I grabbed when I was leaving the house. Now, how has it worked out? Well, it's worked out fine. The other thing I grabbed from the house was I grabbed a bag of kubasa. and that was in the fridge, and it was sitting next to the cheese, so I grabbed that when I left as well. So for the last few days, I have had cheese, crackers, and kubasov for lunch, or for supper actually, on Thursday. For breakfast on Friday, I had some crackers and peanut butter. I actually wasn't very hungry, and I like to get out early in the morning, so I didn't want to take a lot of time to eat. For lunch yesterday, I actually didn't have anything. I think I had an iced tea, and I think I had some of my chips, and that was it. For supper last night, I had a bun with peanut butter and jam on it, and some iced tea, and that was it that I ate yesterday. This morning I got up, and because it was overcast, I had a bit more time to get ready. So today was sort of my housekeeping day. And what I did this morning was I actually made myself a bowl of cereal, or poured the milk and stuff in the bowl of cereal. And I actually did some housework as well while I was eating that. And I actually finished up the orange juice. And then I went and filled up my water jug and did some other stuff around the camper to make sure that everything was ready to go again. It's one thing that when you're living in a small space, you have to utilize the stuff that you have. And I found that in my camper, I'm really good for everything. The only thing that I think I'm going to change in my camper is I want to get a couple pans that I can put in the sink for when I do dishes, so I don't necessarily have to dump the water down into my water tank. If I'm parked somewhere close to a washroom, I can take the water over there and pour it out. It's not a huge deal. But other than that, I'm actually doing really well. I just went to Nordegg, which is a small community just to the east of, it's called Saskatchewan River Crossing, which is basically where Banff National Park and Jasper National Park meet. And I didn't even have a desire to stop at any of the stores. There's not a lot of stores there to stop at, but I really don't need a lot of food or anything. My gas situation is I gas up whenever I can, but Nordegg price was a little high, so I decided I've got enough gas, so I'll go back to Lake Louise. And it's probably where I'll be spending the night tonight. We'll see what the weather's like when I get into the park. But it's actually been a really good challenge to get out and just to try that. Seeing how many people have been evacuated for forest fires and for wildfires and for other things, it's actually quite interesting when you have to do it and you don't give yourself a chance to go back and grab other stuff. Now that being said, I have made some notes, and one of the notes that I made is I do have to get myself some dish soap because that disappeared on my van, and I do have to get something else that I forgot that I didn't have in my van. But other than that, I'm doing well. So until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day and get out and enjoy the beautiful outdoors. Take care.